I'm Brian Goldfinger of Goldfinger Injury Lawyers, and you know what makes me mad? When insurance companies deny your claim for no good reason. That's why people call me. I'm the lawyer insurance companies don't want to deal with. Visit goldfingerlaw.com and get us working for you.
Get Goldfinger today.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, William Loom, speaking to you after the Toronto Raptors lost by a score of 107-95 at home to the Houston Rockets. The Rockets playing really well of late. The team is finally healthy again, and they're starting to honestly recapture their form from last year where, they were the number one seed in the West and forced Golden State into, 7 games. It's starting to look like that again, honestly. And they actually have a couple of pieces this year that, might really help them in that regard. Austin Rivers, actually. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous bringing up Austin Rivers, but he played really well tonight. But look, it's not really about the Rockets. It's really about the Raptors who, honestly, this was one of their 3 most frustrating performances of the season in terms of just their inability to execute sort of the stop and start nature of the game, how the Raptors couldn't really seem to gel or play together. And, it's funny because, those 2 other performances that I thought have been the other 2 most frustrating performances of the season. One of them was obviously San Antonio, like when they returned to San Antonio and just how bad they got crushed. That was really humiliating. The other one was losing to Houston. Now, the other one game, I think the final score was within 3 points because the Raptors made this ridiculous comeback in the last couple of minutes, which completely fell short, but they hit a bunch of threes, and the Rockets honestly just started, losing their minds. They played like idiots for a solid 2 minutes there, the Rockets did in their previous game. But the Rockets, have basically had the Raptors number. And, I think, quite honestly, most of the issues today stem from the Raptors offense and specifically to the bench. But I really think it's just a lot of what Houston does in terms of switching, since of their personnel. They did a really good job of walling off the paint. Not only did they switch, but they also sent very timely help defense to deny the Raptors from getting into the paint. The Raptors only had 37 points in the first half. That's horrendous. The Raptors did come alive in the third quarter there, but Raptors offensively just couldn't really get it going. And, honestly, if I were a team that plays the Raptors in the playoffs, I would definitely look at these 2 games against the Rockets and try to copy a lot of the elements of what they did, because a lot of that switching kept the Raptors from getting into the paint, and a lot of the Raptors' offenses getting into the paint, getting a paint touch, and then kicking it out for 3 or either finishing at the basket. And there just wasn't a lot of that tonight. What there was a lot of was the bench looking like hot trash. Now, the bench has been bad all year, straight up bad. This might have been their worst performance, honestly. Let me just read you their plus minuses. OG Anunoby, minus 30 in 14 minutes. Norman Powell, minus 16 in 10 minutes. Marc Gasol, minus 30 in 18 minutes. Jeremy Lin, my boy, oh my God, he was so bad. Minus 22 in 11 minutes. And Pat McCaw, minus 15 in 10 minutes. Now, part of that is the Raptors, or Nurse sort of insists on playing a lot of these bench guys together at once. And that doesn't help because I don't think they really fit well together. But, I mean, it's just bad all around, in the first half, Lowry actually played a lot with the bench unit, especially in that second quarter there. And, I don't know, the Raptors just kept turning the ball over. Lowry had a bunch of turnovers. Jeremy Lin, my God, he was so bad, man. Jeremy, seriously, he had more turnovers than points. Norman Powell was also playing like dog shit, and it was just the whole group as a whole just put it in rice, just put the whole group in rice. That shit does not work. Part of it was, it's, I don't even want to say it's a bad matchup because really it's not like the Rockets are bringing they brought Gary Clark and Nenê off the bench. And honestly, I think Nenê actually kind of outperformed Marc Gasol. Sad as that sounds, Nenê, who is, I think, exactly 48 years old at this point, still playing in the NBA. It was just an ugly performance. It was just so bad by the bench. They completely put the Raptors in they single-handedly buried the Raptors. The Raptors were down 20. And it wasn't even like the Rockets were doing something that was so great. They played good defense for sure, but a lot of that stretch was just the Raptors would play this horrendous offensive set. Like time after time, they would turn the ball over, they take a bad shot. Their floor balance was completely messed up, and the Rockets just go the other way and score in transition. Like they only needed to do was wait for the Raptors to screw up and then go the other way to score. Like Chris Paul, who was playing for most of with the bench units, the Rockets like to have Harden play basically most of the first, most of the third, and then the second half, the second and the fourth quarter. And in between that, it's up to Chris Paul to shepherd the team. Chris Paul had 5 points on 1 of 10 shooting. And yet he was a plus 13 because all he needed to do was just throw hit-ahead passes for guys like, Gerald Green or Austin Rivers or Eric Gordon to finish. And the Raptors just shooting themselves in the foot, honestly. And then the third quarter came around. The Raptors actually got their shit together, played incredible defense where they had limited the Rockets to only 4 points in the first 6 minutes. A lot of that was Serge Ibaka, who in the first half had a couple of butterfingers moments, and it was ugly. But Serge in that third quarter was, it's the best defense I've seen Serge play as a Raptor, period. Like the best 6-minute stretch I've seen Serge Ibaka play defense as a member of the Raptors. That was like 2013 Serge Ibaka when he was like leading the league in blocks and stuff like that. In that third quarter alone, I think he had like 3 blocks in that quarter alone. I'm not entirely sure. He finished with 5. A couple of those were on Harden, a couple of those were on Capella, and the Raptors offensively, basically, they figured, okay, they're gonna play Chris Paul 1-on-1, they're gonna play Eric Gordon 1-on-1, and then with James Harden, they're gonna have Danny Green sort of sit on his left hand, so he can't really go to that step back. Obviously, sort of run him off the line if the ball swings to him, and just basically funnel the action towards the basket. And what that really requires is very timely help defense from the center, which in this case was Ibaka. And you need basically Ibaka to contest a shot at the right time while also staying down long enough to dissuade the dump-off pass and the alley-oop pass to Capella, who's obviously a great finisher on the basket. And, Ibaka did a great job of contesting and forcing misses out of Harden. And even when Harden was able to get the ball to Capella, or if Capella was able to get an offensive rebound, Ibaka was just, stuffing the life out of him. So, it was an inspired performance. The Raptors quickly, the starting unit quickly regained the lead, actually. It took a small lead. And it was really up to the bench to just not fuck it up. And nope, they fucked it up. Like it was bad. Some of it was on Gerald Green, who definitely gets Gerald Henderson tonight for randomly going off. He had 18 points in 21 minutes. He's obviously one of those guys that it's a microwave scorer, and he was just getting a couple tough looks to drop. But the bench unit as a whole, that fourth quarter there, the Raptors allowed 38 points in the fourth quarter. So that completely negated any good work they did in the third quarter defensively. They just threw it all away. And a lot of that was the bench. Seriously, when you see some of these numbers, it's astronomical. Like I said earlier, OG and Marc Gasol, both minus 30. And it's an issue. It really is an issue. In terms of, like, what you do with this bench unit, I'm not really sure, because Serge played with the bench unit. He was bad with it. When Serge starts, he's been good. Marc goes to the bench. He was bad. When he starts, he's been good. Like it's just a concern. It is, and it's sort of perplexing. It's definitely less than the some other parts. I think personally, a lot of it comes down to if Gasol is going to play with the second unit, and I don't want him to always play with the second unit. I do want him to start sometimes. But if he's going to play with the second unit sometimes, he's got to assert himself more as a scorer. He really does, right? Like, he had 5 shots in 18 minutes going against Nenê. Now, Nenê is actually a solid defender, even at his advanced in his big age. But, if 5 shots in 18 minutes, like, damn, like, that's just not enough. It really isn't enough. I'm curious. Like, first off, why doesn't Marc Gasol play the pick and pop more often, right? Like, why don't the Raptors set up Gasol to catch and shoot? Because a lot of what I thought the value that Gasol was going to bring to the Raptors was that pick and pop ability. He doesn't play pick and pop that much. Maybe part of it is coaching. Maybe I don't think they're making an emphasis at all to get him to get those pick and pop looks the way they would, for example, with Serge. Like, you could tell that they have a concerted strategy to get Serge to pick and pop. I don't think that's the same strategy with Gasol. But I also think part of it is in Gasol's nature. I think he's being a little bit too unselfish. Every time he catches the ball, if he does sort of fade out to the perimeter, his first instinct is to look for the pass. He looks inside for the pass, and he looks for the dribble handoff. And it's like, man, okay, I get that you're unselfish, but like I would much rather have a Gasol shot than Jeremy Lin taking coming around for a dribble handoff to go into the paint, or Norman Powell doing the same thing. Like, it's ugly. And right now, Jeremy Lin and Norman Powell together are just a terrible, terrible pairing. It's bad. I mean, Norm Powell is doing his bad Norm impersonation, and Jeremy Lin is also doing a bad Norm Powell impersonation alongside. It's like two Norms out there. It's bad. Powell and Lin took 11 shots combined today. I felt like none of those were good looks, and they scored a combined 6 points. It's tough. It was really tough to watch, and yeah, I mean that's one of the things, right? I mean, part of it is the problem is gonna solve itself to some degree. Like, I think Fred VanVleet coming back is gonna help, although it is a question where when he does come back, whose minutes does he take? Does he take Lin's minutes? I mean, right now, honestly, the way Lin's playing, I love Lin, but like for real, like 2 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, minus 22 in 11 minutes, just like getting stripped by Nenê at half court. Like, come on, that's embarrassing, right? Like, I guess right now Lin would be that guy, but it's not like Powell's playing that much better. Powell defensively tonight was so bad. 4 fouls in 10 minutes. It's just awful. It's just awful. And then even still, like, okay, maybe like McCaw gets some minutes taken away from him, but like out of all those guys, I kind of like McCaw. I mean, McCaw definitely has the lowest ceiling offensively, but like defensively, at least he competes and he's consistent. Jeremy is, whatever. He's not really an impact defender. And Norm sometimes can make an impact defensively, but also is just as likely to be bad defensively. So, yeah, when Fred comes back, I'm not sure this actually solves too much, because I don't think he creates that much off the dribble either. Like, there's been a lot of moments earlier this year where, we've been on this podcast talking about how VanVleet hasn't done a good job of, distributing and setting the tone for the second unit. And as much as, and plus he's going to be coming off injuries, so we don't really know the condition that he's going to be in. That's a concern. And then it's also a concern, like, if the Raptors do shorten the rotation, then, like, okay, sure. But I honestly have some doubts about that. I mean, like, they will definitely shorten the rotation. And today they did kind of shorten it, right? Like, Kyle Lowry played 42 minutes. Kawhi played 36. Pascal played 38. Like, this is kind of what we kind of can expect in the playoffs as well. But, like, I mean, are we going to see this consistent 8-man rotation? Are we going to, even understand the sub patterns? Are we going to understand what each specific unit's going to be doing? Like, those are kind of questions where, like, they have like, what, 15 more games to figure this thing out. Like, that's the stuff that they should be focusing on. I'm not saying shorten the rotation to 8 right now, but, like, at least have some answer. Right now, I have no answer, really. And in terms of, like, ramping up and stuff, like, are you confident that Kawhi can play 40 minutes? Because I don't know. I really don't know. And can Kyle consistently play 40 plus minutes? I mean, like, first off, his workload has been really high since he's come back from injury, but I guess that's just Kyle. Can Danny Green extend up to 40 minutes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's a frustrating performance for sure. In terms of your 3 stars, that's tough. This is really tough. I guess I'll give Kawhi the first star. He was able to at least consistently create offense. Now, the assists weren't there. Part of that was because the Rockets switched so much they make you play one-on-ones. There's not really a lot of open shots that Kawhi can be passing out to. Like the Rockets even did this to the Warriors, and the Warriors get like 30-plus assists all the time, and they couldn't get assists. So it's hard to expect Kawhi to do the same. But at least Kawhi was able to get his offense. He plays for the physical contact. PJ Tucker was all over him, and Kawhi still produced. So I'll give him the first star. Pascal, a very close second star, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 12 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep, 1 of 4 from the free throw line. That was uncharacteristic. But again, that's another guy who played to the physicality of the Rockets. The Rockets defensively, I got to credit them. They played really well. But, Pascal was able to get his buckets. I really do think that Pascal needs more touches. Like, he definitely needs more touches. There's times where he's, like, out there with the bench and, like, he's just another guy. And it's like, what's the point of that, right? If you're going to have him with the bench and leading the bench, let him have the ball. Like, and honestly, anything to get Lin and Powell not shooting the ball right now and creating the offense is going to be good for the Raptors because those two are just playing terribly. But Pascal had a couple possessions there where James Harden's in foul trouble. Pascal torched them in the post. Like, there's a lot of opportunities to use Pascal, and especially if teams are going to switch and put a smaller guy on him or whatever. Pascal has all the tools to be a guy who honestly can be a featured player for stretches and against good teams too. We've seen it happen many times this season. So Pascal had a good game. And then third star, I'm giving that to Serge. The first half was really bad, but that third quarter, he was sensational. 10 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 blocks, 4-7 shooting, 4 Serge Ibaka in 30 minutes. I mean, his job was to outplay Clint Capella, and he did that tonight. So, good job by Serge. But it's too bad the bench were just so bad that the Raptors starters actually played the Rockets starters just fine. It really wasn't an issue. In fact, the Raptors starter played them better. It's crazy that you can get Serge Ibaka playing 30 minutes in a game when the Raptors lost by 12, and he was a plus 18. But, I mean, again, that just speaks to Gasol being minus 30 and the bench being such a dumpster fire. They got to figure out that bench. They really do. And then in terms of your Gerald Henderson award, got to give that to Gerald Green. Man, 18 points, 21 minutes. And he only did it with 9.5 fingers. So, I mean, it's impressive. Imagine he had 10 fingers. This man would be Michael Jordan. I don't know. But, it's a frustrating loss. Definitely a frustrating loss. I'll be back. Thanks everyone for listening. And, I'll be back on Friday to recap that one.